Kelvin, a game of two different halves, a game with disappointing results, but I actually believe that a game where experience actually showed up between the two goalkeepers. In as much as we did not enjoy the goals, at least we enjoyed some quality goalkeeping tonight, and we enjoyed one or two tactics from these particular two coaches. I think this is the kind of game you should expect from two teams who are not up there in terms of form and quality. Looking at the season under review, you know, Ahly had to sack their coach. They needed to do a lot of things, bring in new players for this particular club worker, but I think they've not done enough. I'm looking at the other games that are going to come up in this particular group, and I begin to ask myself a lot of questions. That what should we expect? Maybe we're also going to watch a Porto or Palmeiras game that is going to end in goalless. But I think when you look at the full group and the kind of performances that we saw tonight, only the next game will justify if Ahly is going to qualify or not, because between those two teams, they are going to, each of them is going to play against Inter Miami, and the other is also going to play against Alali, and we are going to see how those games are going to end. I'm really disappointed in the results. I did not really expect a goalless game like this. I really did not expect it, Kelvin, and I think they had too much quality in their setup to give us a goalless game. Too much quality to give us a goalless game.
To just put things into context, or what he's saying, the next Ahly game is Palmeiras. Now, if they fail to win that game, they'll have to play Porto on the final day. That'll be a very tough. That'll be a very tough. So it means that the next game they play, if they don't grab all 3 points and they draw that game, they don't win that game, whether they draw or they lose it, and they move in to play Porto in the final game and they don't beat Porto, they're out.
My worry is different competition under the same federation, same performances from African teams in the competition. World Cup, the same things we see from African nations, the same thing we are seeing from African clubs at the Club World Cup. New format, new standard, trying to change the dynamics of such a competition. When you look at the World Cup, you don't have the opportunity to buy players. So with that, you can have an excuse for your nation. But when it comes to the Club World Cup, you have an opportunity to have different varieties of meat in the soup. You can pick some from here. You can even do a lot of combinations and get a very tasty soup. But look at how we are still performing at this particular stage. Calvin, this is not a good sign for African football. This is not a good sign. Inter Miami is not the best team in MLS.
No, I think I want to believe the opposite. I think it actually paints the best picture about the standard of our game, and that is how come in times past people have always referenced the fact that we are not up there yet. In as much as teams, players might be performing at the continental level, they are not really up to the world standard, and this is the clearest picture that they can give. You need more than just playing on the field to be up there, the standard. That is where you need the confidence. That is where you need that character. That is where you need to understand how to manage the tempo as regards the game, and then also the rhythm of play. Alali failed to control the game as they should, and that is the biggest issue I have. They had this game right in the palm of their hands, but they mismanaged it. They could not handle it well. And all of these will have to play into the lack of character in the side, the lack of confidence, and the overall quality in the team. The chances that fell to Wissam Abu Ali, if it fell to Suarez, at least he would have buried one. The penalty that was afforded Alali, if it was awarded to the Inter Miami team, Lionel Messi steps up, what do you think will happen? So that is the difference. And you need some of these minor details to work in your favor. You need it to be something that you do and you do well, so that when it gets to that stage, we can say that you are finally arrived. Then Akomeah narrated this in the early stages of the show, where he said that this is very typical of the African countries who qualify for the World Cup. When they go there, they play their beautiful game right from the start, and then they don't see it out. Eventually, it comes back to haunt them. This is a similar storyline that played out in the game that Alali played. Started so well, and then they ended the game with their goalkeeper saving them from conceding. They would have lost this game but for the intervention of El Shenawi, it clearly paints that picture. I think we need to add certain elements to our game. I understand Alali is investing, they are doing everything, but there are certain things that you need to also make a culture of this whole football thing that you are doing, and it will help you. I think we are not there yet, and that is a standard of our game as it stands now. It is just like the Ghanaian clubs when they go to Africa.
Yeah,
they have players. At the local terrain, they are dominating. They are making the headway. They are making the headlines across the new media space. But the point is, when they get to the African space, they become basically like newbies. They are not able to lay down the marker or at such a stage, and that is what also translates to when the best of Africa goes into the international stage and they are found.
But Mike, don't you think Ahly are not doing things well, especially with one, the change in terms of coaches? I think this season they've already changed like three.
Yeah.
Aside that, remember the last batch where they had Aliou Dieng, other players who were quality, this South African guy, Percy Tau. Look at how
a few years ago.
Look at how good they were in the CAF Champions League. Then you look at how it transcended even into the FIFA Club World Cup. As at that time, they even played. I think it was the final or the semi-final.
They played the final with Piso Mosemane.
That is it. So just look at that season coming into this particular season. The changes they've had, the instability they've had, and even in their league, they are struggling. Remember what happened for them to be crowned champions. Between them and the Pyramids, whatever that went on. Look at the kind of striker that Pyramids is having now, and compare it to the kind of striker that Ahly is having now.
You see, I understand the point that you make.
There's a whole lot of things going wrong with Ahly.
See, if you are looking for one of the teams that successfully allows the team to go through its natural cycle, and then as and when they augment the squad, I think you have to give it to Alali Sundowns. For how they plan the succession plans in terms of those who are coming in to replace those who are leaving. So at a point in time when Aliou Dieng, he fell off. You see, there's something with these West African players.
Sure.
They play to the top there, and then all of a sudden they lack that motivation because they feel they've made enough money, and then they forget about playing football. Aliou Dieng fell off. They have augmented that squad, built it into a different mode, and then they've won with it. The success story is there. Remnants of that successful period under Piso Mosemane is Afsha, who came on, Hussein Al Shahat. He also belongs to that era. So they might not have Percy Tau, you get it, but they still have players who played and excelled during that period still being part of this side, and they've recruited well too. They've added competent quality players at the continental level. The challenge here is that they will need to upgrade to the standard required of them to come to this international stage and deliver. I hope you get. There is a gulf. The standards in Europe is far, far ahead of the standards in South America, and then the standards in Africa. So when it gets to the Club World Cup in this previous stage, you will see that whenever the best of South America comes up even against the European opponents, then they are found really wanting. So that is where I have the biggest issue. The standards, it is so huge, and it tells even the budget that these guys run. Over here, Alali spends $23 million, and it is big news here in Ghana. But in Europe, if you spend $23 million, then you have to compete with Parma. I hope you get it. But Parma, unfortunately, will not be playing in the Club World Cup. Mbappe's annual earnings in a year is around that $23 million that Alali is spending on his squad. So you see, that is where the gulf is. There is a huge gap, and that lacuna will need to be filled with time. You have your own set of quality, but when you measure it up against the standard, as regards club football, you are found wanting, and it will take us some time before we get there. And I think the purpose of this competition is to at least bridge that gap. That's why they are spending enough money.
Because I actually want to see what with that money is going to bring in. Because spending money to bring in players like Nordin Amrabat, look at the quality that he brings to the level of experience.
Exactly.
They wanted to do things big. I was expecting Ahly to go through the same tangents, not necessarily with Egyptian players alone, but at least on the broader market, Fiston Mayele, most of these guys, even not for that, if you can loan a player for £3 million to West Brom, you can buy a player from Slovenia. You can go outside and pick somebody.
Yes. Oh, they even went to Awakra to get Hamdi Fati. His deal expires after the club
World Cup.
July.
So
he
pick
returns
a
to Awakra.
top attack because I don't think I have hopes in Abu to lead this particular line of Alali to get them the goals. It's not going to happen.